Hey, I'm Amy, and welcome to my channel, Beyond the Smile. After leaving the classroom, I started a whole new chapter in my life, one that was filled with more freedom, more travel, more growth, more joy. And so I'm here to share the messy, the beautiful, the fun, all of the behind the scenes that are happening behind this smile. And today I'm sharing my story of why I left the classroom and how it completely transformed my life. So I'm a teacher in Canada. I was teaching in the classroom for 5 years, and I have been out of the classroom now doing other things, which I'm gonna get into a little bit later, for the past 3 years. But I'm gonna start back at the beginning, to my beginning of my teaching journey to where I am now. So for as long as I can remember, I have wanted to be a teacher. From like 3 years old, I was playing classroom and reading, and I knew it was very clear I always wanted to be a teacher. And so when I got into the concurrent education program at Brock University, I was just beyond ecstatic. I was so excited to be in my dream program and on my journey to become a teacher. And when I was finished teacher's college, I had graduated, I immediately got my first full-time position in an LTO, covering for a teacher on a mat leave in a grade 1 classroom in this really cute little kind of county farmer town. And it was really scary going in for my first time. I don't even think I was 21 years old, and I all of a sudden was in charge of, luckily, a small class, 14 little grade 1s. But I just remember feeling like teacher's college prepared me for nothing. I really feel like there's so much that we could change in teacher's college programs, which that's a story for another day. But I really feel like I was so unprepared, and I just kind of wanted to get through the day and make sure all the kids were alive and they were safe, because there's a lot that doesn't prepare you for just having your own classroom right off the bat. So I actually never did any supply teaching. I was right in there in my first year LTO. And then from there, my second year, I went to a different school and I got permanent. I was accepted as a permanent teacher right away. And so I never did end up doing supply teaching, which I was excited about because I was in full-time positions, but I also feel like maybe that would have helped to kind of prepare me for just taking care of all these little humans. But my very first year of teaching, it was a lot of different things happening. It was also very interesting because I was in a school where a lot of the teachers were very seasoned teachers. And so I feel like I was quickly adapting their practices, which weren't necessarily maybe the most effective or up to date. And so looking back on that first year, I really feel like I didn't do what I could have done with those students had I had been better equipped with more up-to-date tools and kind of just navigating the classroom a bit better. But going into my second year of teaching, I was in a really rough school. And when I say rough, it was kind of a rough area. There was a lot of things going on, a lot of different things happening in the kids' backgrounds and things like that. So it was a rougher area compared to the first year I was teaching in. And I really learned very quickly that the school dynamic really makes or breaks that experience of being in the classroom. I really felt connected to the staff this year. The principal was a little, but the staff, I felt so connected to that staff, and that made the world of difference. And I really felt like, because that staff was very innovative, I was doing pilot programs, I was a part of all these workshops and all of these new things, and especially with a focus on reading, I feel like my kids were thriving, and I had a lot better handle on kind of how to adapt. But this being my second year of teaching, I was quickly realizing that the classroom is not what I thought it was going to be in. And as much as I loved going into school every day and being with the kids, they were little kids. My second year teaching, it was a grade 1-2 classroom. It really kind of took me back. I was exhausted and mentally drained, just complete burnout. And I was like, what is going on? This is my second year of teaching. This is not how it's supposed to be. But everyone I talked to, all my friends that were in teachers college, they were all saying the same thing. And so that was a big shock for me. It was only my second year of teaching, and already I was feeling just insane burnout. And so that was the year that COVID happened. So I was only just kind of getting through my second year of teaching when COVID happened and we all went online. And at first I was like, not sure how this was gonna go. Obviously, like COVID, we all were kind of stepping into a lot of unknowns. But the rest of that school year, I really thrived in that time frame when we went into lockdown on March until the end of the school year in June that year, because I was doing all this stuff online, still creating this experience for them that they felt like they were in the classroom, doing all these video lessons, read alouds, and all these different things. And that really made me realize, like, wow, there's a lot of potential special in this when we don't have all of those different things happening in the classroom distracting us from just actually teaching. So going into my third year of teaching, I was fully online in a virtual school with grade 1 students. And that year, I really realized A, that I kind of liked teaching online, and B, there was so much that I could do. Although, yes, there are kids that I think should be in person. Not every kid connects and thrives online in the online virtual classroom. But I was teaching kids how to read, and we had small groups going. We had one-on-one sessions. There was so much that we were doing online. And I realized that I was so happy, not because of whatever different reason, but because I was actually teaching. And I feel like my first 2 years in the classroom were not what I thought they were going to be, because I actually just wasn't teaching. I feel like I was glorified babysitting. I feel like it was just constantly putting out fires, dealing with parents, fixing all of these things because the system itself is so broken, and they are really just unpreparing teachers for going out into the classrooms, compared to that year where I was actually just focusing again on teaching the kids, helping them learn, helping them grow, and there wasn't all these extra things. And that was really eye-opening to me, and I really enjoyed that year because we got through so much material. The way that I structured it, they were online a lot of the day, but it was, very interactive, and they really enjoyed it. I had a lot of positive feedback from the parents, and so that was very eye-opening for me. That following year, I was online again, but I was in a school. I was still virtual teaching that year, and again, I just felt so excited about what I was accomplishing online because I was actually teaching kids how to read. So then going into my next year, my 5th year, that year was in a different school, and I realized then that it just wasn't what teaching was supposed to be for me anymore. And it was that year where things started to really become draining and really complicated and challenging, because the behaviors in the classroom, it was just so much with minimal support. There was so much going on. I wasn't connecting with, the school that I was in per se. And there was just a lot of things that were at play that just were making me feel like I wasn't using my full potential of teaching. I wasn't really being able to do what I wanted to do fully because there were so many other things that I had to focus on besides actually teaching. So I could talk hours and hours about specific things. Maybe we'll save that for another video. But it was that year where I started having different thoughts about what I wanted to do, maybe thinking beyond the classroom. So I got my master's degree as I wanted to think of other ways that I could open up doors for myself outside of the classroom. And it was also that year that my husband got accepted to med school abroad. So that first year that he was abroad, it was kind of during COVID times and things like that in the mix of when I was teaching online. But that next year, when things were opened back up again, I realized that, in a school board, we are just a number. And as a teacher, we are very restricted. I know that we get, in the summers, we get summers off, we get Christmas break off, we get March break and things like that. But life doesn't just happen in those times during the year. And so if I wanted to go see my husband, I couldn't. So if I wanted to go and visit my husband, I would have to, I just felt like I couldn't be truthful, and I didn't like that feeling. So I was also getting some of those feelings looking ahead into the future of, if I want to be there for my family, or if I need to do things with my husband, or, he's going to be away for such a long time. And not that my decision to leave the classroom was based on that, but those were just some other factors that played into it that got me thinking. But really, I found in my notes, like a few years before this, back when I was in teachers college, I found in my notes some visions and dreams that I had about one day starting my own education company, not being in the classroom and doing things kind of my own way in my own style. And so I kind of took this opportunity of my husband being abroad. I had an opportunity to go and live abroad with him. And so I thought maybe this is my time. I was in a situation in a school where I wasn't feeling comfortable. I wasn't feeling like it was my fit and my place. And I was just so mentally burned out, which really scared me for only being 5 years into my career. And so I got approved for a leave of absence from my school board, and I haven't looked back since. Flash forward to moving abroad with my husband. We started in Ireland. That was where the first half of his medical school program was. And then from there, it's 2.5 years in Malaysia, which is where we are now. So we're finishing up our 5 years abroad, and now our next stage is going to be going to the UK. So lots of other things I can share with you, but sticking with where I am right now in my teaching career outside of the classroom, I started up my own education company, Omniea Education. Going on 4 years, I have been teaching abroad, and I have been blessed with the opportunity to be able to travel while I'm working. And I have been working with students from all over the globe. I've been working with students that have been from Russia, been living in Italy, been living in Korea, all over North America. I work with students from Australia, and I had a student once from Brazil. And there's just so many different students that I've gotten to work with. And remotely, I've even got to meet some of my students, just happened to be in the same place at the same time. I met one of my students in Italy that I was teaching online, and their family. But it's really opened my eyes to education that happens outside of the classroom, especially in Ontario where I was teaching. There's a lot of changes that need to happen, a lot of changes that I think need to be adjusted. And I have learned so much being outside of the classroom of ways that we need to fix our education system, but also ways that we can maybe better educate our children. And I have also been able to, with working from students from all over the world, I've also been able to experience the cultures myself and understand how children are learning in different parts of the world, the different styles of education that we can come across. And I just feel like this experience has really broadened my understanding and perspective of what it means to have a solid education, what it means to have access to education, and what that can look like in different capacities, and what best suits each child. And so there's just a lot of knowledge that I've been able to absorb with these experiences that I've had living abroad. And so I'll definitely make a video sharing more of the different things that led me to starting up my business, because I didn't just automatically start and have these students coming in, and there's different things that I did. So I'll definitely make a video to share more about that. But really, where I'm sitting now, I feel like my passion for education has exploded. I've always been a passionate educator, but I just feel like I have this drive in me now to support teachers who are in the classroom, because I know what supports there are outside of schools and what they don't have access to, and I want to continue trying to find ways to give that to them, and also making experiences better for students. And I know you're probably thinking, you're just one person, what are you going to do? But it starts with one person, and I truly have a lot of visions with where, even just one person can help make a difference in the education system. And I know that education system is a hard thing to crack, but I think it's so important that we're constantly looking at ways that we can better our education systems to better the education for students and the education they're receiving. And so I really am just grateful for the opportunities that I've been given, being able to leave the classroom and start something new. But it really has just completely transformed my perspective on the education system in the classroom and what it could be. And so I'm really enjoying being on the side of figuring out what it could be, in the hopes that I can support more educators and students that are in the classroom and making some of those changes. So I'm excited to share more with you about my journey. Stay tuned for some more videos kind of diving in a little bit deeper into some of my classroom experiences, as well as my experiences out of the classroom and living abroad. So I'm excited to share more with what got behind this smile and where I'm at today. So I hope that you will like and subscribe and follow along with me on my journey as I share more beyond the smile. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you back soon.